Okay, thank you for joining us on this midwinter day. This is a joint meeting of the National Liberal Club Commonwealth Forum and the National Liberal Club European Forum. This evening's topic is blockchain and virtual currencies, the new decade's greatest challenge for the European financial system. This Zoom call will be recorded and a video is going to be available online. All attendees are going to be muted except, of course, for the main speakers. And if you have any questions, there is going to be a Q&A session toward the end of our talk today. And again, if you have a question, please send a message in the chat box, and the moderator is going to select the questioner, so you receive a private message telling you when to unmute yourself and ask a question. Now, the moderation today is going to be done by a fellow National Liberal Club member, Jean Langlois, who is also on the NLC CF and EF steering group. Jean holds a doctorate in mathematical economics and is currently conducting operational research at the Institut Polytechnique. He was previously a researcher at the National Institute for Research in Computer Sciences in Paris, and I also taught at Sciences Po, ESSEC Business School, and EMSST. Now, over to you, Jean. I'll let you introduce our speaker, our main speaker for today, Yorick de Mombynes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Benedict. So we are very happy to welcome Yorick de Mombynes. He's a graduate from ENA, the French École Nationale d'Administration, and ESCP Business School. Yorick de Mombynes is currently a senior auditor at the office and used to be an advisor at the French Prime Minister's office. He co-authored the report Bitcoin, Totem and Taboo, published by the French Sapiens Institute, and regularly gives talks to a variety of audience about the impact of virtual currencies. He also taught at Sciences Po economics and philosophy. So we are indeed not only happy, but quite honored to welcome Yorick today. This discussion is quite ambitious because we're going to cover a very large very basic, way more precise, challenging subjects. So if what we're going to talk about, we will start with basic definitions regarding blockchain and Bitcoin so that people who don't know that much about the subject will have enough knowledge to understand what's going next. We will keep on with an analysis of the involved technical revolution. We will also deal with cryptocurrency, analyze what are the political and economical impacts. Afterwards, we will try to understand how blockchain represents a monetary revolution. And if blockchain obviously deals with monetary aspects, as you know, it also linked to non-monetary aspects. And we will try to understand how both this monetary and non-monetary aspects are linked. So I'm very happy to let Yorick start with maybe general definitions, and you'll see it's going to go very fast. So be focused because every step is directly linked.
Okay, thank you, Jean. Hello, everybody. I'm very happy to. I'm very honored. Thank you for your invitation. Very happy to talk about these subjects: blockchain, cryptocurrencies. At the same time, you must know that the blockchain topic and the virtual currency topic is a bit like a pretext for something else. The real objective of this discussion is to organize a competition between Jean and me on who has the most terrible French accent. Who has the most terrible French accent between Jean and me? Generally speaking, I'm quite a humble person, but on this subject, I think I may win. So please forgive me, pardon me for this terrific accent. So what can we say about first Bitcoin? Because Bitcoin is the father of all virtual currencies and blockchain technologies. First, maybe a word, I don't really like the word virtual currency. The real virtual currency, it's the euro or the dollar. Why are they virtual? Because they can be created with no limit, for no cost, from nothing. They are really virtual. Bitcoin is not virtual. Bitcoin is created, is costly to produce. It's not easy to produce Bitcoin. And nobody can decide if we should create more Bitcoin or less Bitcoin. Nobody has the power to do that. And the Bitcoin, the number of Bitcoin issued is limited, as everybody knows now. It's limited. So Bitcoin is rare. So it's not concrete, it's not material, but it's very tangible at the same time. It's not virtual. It needs energy to be produced, and energy, what it is, it's very concrete energy. It's not virtual. It needs computers to be created, to be produced, and a computer is not virtual. It's very concrete. So I prefer the term cryptocurrency, even if some people prefer cyber currencies or crypto assets, but I like the term cryptocurrencies. There is cryptography in cryptocurrencies. A Bitcoin transaction is not secret, it's public. It's public, it's not encrypted, but it uses cryptography in order to perform the signature of the transaction. There is a specific kind of cryptography that is used to send a Bitcoin transaction, but a Bitcoin transaction is public. It's like sending an email, but everybody can read the email. A Bitcoin transaction is some text, but the text is public. And we know that somebody is sending some amount to somebody, but we don't know the name of the persons. We only see the code of their addresses. So what is Bitcoin? Before being a cryptocurrency, Bitcoin is a protocol. It's a computer protocol. And this protocol, it makes something very specific before being a cryptocurrency. This protocol, it makes to value what the web has done to information. That's the real revolution. The Bitcoin protocol makes to value, does to value what the web did to information. So it's a total revolution, complete disruption of how value is stored and transmitted. Why? Because it's the first time that value can be stored and transmitted on internet without trusted third parties. Without trusted third parties, that's the key point to understand. And this is a non-monetary aspect. It's a service that is very useful, but it's not monetary service. How can it become monetary? Only when some people consider that this token that they can send is so revolutionary and so useful that it can be used as a money, that it can be used as some intermediary for exchange in real life, in economic life, and so that it can be used as money. And so this is very important to understand. First, a revolutionary computer protocol that then can become something producing a cryptocurrency. And why is it so interesting and revolutionary? It's because this network, this system is very secured. It's very secure. And that's the miracle, how to make such a system working without trusted third parties. And at the same time, that is very secured. The Bitcoin system has never been hacked, never. And it's billions and billions of dollars of net value now. And of course, the best hackers in the world, they try to hack it, and no one has succeeded. And how can it be done? It's because the creator of Bitcoin has integrated several technologies in a very innovative ways, in a very innovative way. Those technologies, what are they? The peer-to-peer technology, the asymmetric cryptography, the distributed ledger, and the mining using proof of work. So I can't explain every aspect, but there's something very important to understand is that the distributed ledger technology, it existed before the invention of Bitcoin, and that's what we call blockchain. A blockchain is a distributed ledger. This ledger indicates who owns how much Bitcoin at every time. It's the historic of all the past transactions. And this ledger, it's a database. It's organized as a block of transactions. Every 10 minutes, there's a block with all the transactions of the past 10 minutes. And every block is cryptographically linked to the previous block. And the database that we call the blockchain it's the addition in the time of every new block to the ledger. And this ledger is distributed. It means that it's on thousands of computers in the world. And it's the first reason why it's so difficult to hack. It's because it's much more difficult to hack a ledger if it's distributed on thousands of computers rather than if it's centralized in some corporations, in some banks, for example. That's the first reason. The second reason is that some of these nodes, these computers that have the ledger, in addition to contribute validating the transactions, they make very costly computations, and they spend a huge amount of energy and electricity to make arbitrary computations, to solve an arbitrary cryptographic equations in order to be the first to win a competition between them and to be allowed to record a block of transactions in the ledger. So sorry, it's very, very synthesized, but that's how it works. And this second element, the mining, what we call mining, is very costly. And it makes it so difficult to hack Bitcoin, because if you want to modify the ledger, the only way you can think of is to perform these costly computations. And the more miners there are in the world, and the more they make computations, and the more the cost of these computations should be if you want to hack the ledger. So that's the second element. First element, the ledger is distributed on many computers. Second element, there is a costly process that we call mining that is necessary to record some new blocks in the blockchain. And if you integrate those two elements, it helps understand why the Bitcoin system is so secured. So that's what Bitcoin is. So what is Bitcoin? What is blockchain technology? Now we can understand that the expression blockchain technology is very vague. Personally, I don't find it useful. It's nearly meaningless because we just saw that a blockchain is a database. It's a specific database because it's distributed. And in the case of Bitcoin, what is interesting is how this database is secured. In the case of Bitcoin, it's secured in a very specific way, mining with the proof of work. And in the case of other cryptocurrencies, it's secured with other methods, with other parameters. Each creator of a new cryptocurrency can decide what kind of method he wants to use to secure the database, the ledger. So can we use the expression blockchain technology for Bitcoin and for the other cryptocurrencies, even if they don't use the same method to secure the ledger? I think no, we can't, because if we do it, it's very vague. It doesn't mean anything. So we should use the word blockchain when we want to specify a specific database. The Bitcoin blockchain, the Ethereum blockchain, the Tezos blockchain, and every cryptocurrency has its own blockchain with its own method of securization. So where, maybe Jean, did you want to add anything on that or?
No, it's quite, I mean, it's important that I mean, what you're saying is not exactly everywhere right now. And indeed, I mean, in other conferences that you made, you stressed the fact that basically a lot of people are talking about things they don't know about. I mean, blockchain and Bitcoin are core subjects, but it's indeed quite important to come back to basics to then go to other steps, and that's exactly what we're doing. So,
okay, maybe one additional point is to understand where it comes from. It didn't come from some hippie madness or some money laundering obsession. It came from philosophical idealism. The purpose of what we call the cypherpunks, some intellectuals and computer scientists and cryptographers in the 90s, they really wanted to use internet to improve freedom and personal privacy. They thought that internet would be very interesting for privacy and very dangerous for freedom also. And they wanted to enhance privacy. And they thought that finance and personal finance is a key point to improve privacy. And they thought that the banks and the states, they don't respect privacy enough, and that we should create some money that should not be based on banks, private banks, central banks, and the states. And they tried to do that for years and years, and they never succeeded because it was very difficult technically. And the first one who succeeded was the inventor of Bitcoin, Satoshi Nakamoto. We still don't know who he is. And Nakamoto, he wrote a lot. We have his emails, his blog posts, his forum posts, etc. And he explains exactly what he wanted to do and why he wanted to do that. And personally, I find interesting to understand that he had three motivations. He thought that he started with the problem of the trusted third parties. In the financial systems and monetary systems, there are trusted third parties everywhere to validate transactions, to control everything, etc. And according to him, those trusted third parties, they have three drawbacks, three problems: technical, economical, and philosophical. Technical is because a trusted third party is maybe helpful, but at the same time, it adds some risk, some uncertainty, some technical bugs, some arbitrary decisions. So that's a problem. It's costly. It's ineffective. For example, it makes it impossible to do micropayments on internet because current trusted third parties are not efficient enough. That's a technical problem. The second, economical problem, central banks and private banks, they are trusted third parties who issue money. And when you consider the history, human history, you see that you can't trust them to issue some money that they will not debase. When you look at history, most of the time, central banks issue too much money and they debase money, and that's a major economic problem. And for example, the economists of the Austrian School of Economics, they have analyzed that a lot, Hayek, von Mises, Rothbard, etc. So that's a problem. Banks are trusted third parties, but you can't trust them to keep the money sound, to achieve some money. And the third problem is philosophical, is the one I mentioned just before. It's the problem of privacy. Trusted third parties, they ask you a lot of information on you, even if this information is not useful for them, for validating transactions, etc. So that's a problem for freedom, and that's a philosophical problem. And so Nakamoto really described this, and it's important to understand why he created Bitcoin. And now, if we want to look further beyond Bitcoin, what is the blockchain revolution, and why are there so many cryptocurrencies? It's because many people said, okay, Bitcoin is very interesting, but we can do better than Bitcoin. We can do non-monetary things, or we can do better cryptocurrency than Bitcoin, because Bitcoin has some limitations. But first, before talking about these limitations, Bitcoin has two important technical characteristics that are going to be used by all his competitors. First, in a Bitcoin transaction, you can seal some information. You can anchor some information, some cryptographic information about whatever. And once the transaction is validated, it's in the blockchain, nobody can modify it anymore. So it means that you have a new way of time-stamping information, which is done without trusted third parties. So it's the first aspect, a new technology for time-stamping, which is much more cost-effective, much more reliable, because there is no trusted third party. The second aspect is that the transaction is programmable. You can make it programmable in many, many ways. And that's a very new feature in the monetary system. So I see that we have very little time remaining, so I will try to go a bit faster. So all the other cryptocurrencies and blockchain, they start from these two interesting features, and they try to make it better by making it faster, more programmable, more useful, easier to use, etc. And some of them are very interesting. For example, Ethereum or Tezos, they are very interesting blockchain. But for now, they haven't succeeded to inspire more trust than Bitcoin as regards the monetary aspect. And all those competitors, they are going to be used in the financial systems, because in the financial system, there are trusted third parties everywhere, and you can create financial services with blockchain without all these trusted third parties. And it means that you can disrupt most of the financial services and most of the current financial systems. That's why all the financial institutions of the world are now obsessed by this challenge. All of them, they say that they want to use blockchain. They make a lot of experiments, and even central banks now, they want to issue their own virtual currencies. So there are a lot of experiments and innovations everywhere. What do you think, Jean? What should we mention now?
Well, maybe it would be the right moment to analyze the non-monetary aspects and what seem to be quite important for you, how non-monetary and monetary aspects are directly linked, right?
All right, so what are we now in terms of non-monetary use of what we call blockchain? We can mention what is called DeFi, decentralized finance. There are now many startups who are trying to invent new financial services based on what may be called blockchain technology. And it's totally unregulated for now. It's a very complex aspect. The regulators, they don't really understand what is happening now. But it's very interesting because it's the future of finance. And now the main institutions, the main banks, they are trying to do the same also. And there was something quite interesting a few weeks ago. On the 4th of January, the American regulator of banks, the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, OCC, they issued a public statement authorizing national banks and federal savings associations to use blockchain, distributed ledgers, and stable coins in their own internal processes and in their systems to exchange value between them. That's a major step. That's very interesting. And this is something that is happening in the US and not in Europe, just to make some link with our initial subject. And I think that the US are starting to become much more innovative than us, Europeans, in this kind of aspects. Moreover, in some American states, like Wyoming, there are very innovative regulations authorizing banks to store some cryptocurrencies and to use them. And in Europe, we are much more conservative and cautious on that. I think it's a bit, I think it's a shame. There's a risk that we are going to be very late in this process. In Asia, of course, they are very innovative. Recently, the Singapore exchange system, they announced that they were using blockchain technology to improve their processes. Nothing is happening in Europe. We have a lot of computers, startups, entrepreneurs, but the regulation is a bit late in Europe. Of course, in Europe, we are talking about digital central bank currency. It's interesting to see that for years, central banks have said that cryptocurrencies are not very interesting. They are only for hippies and geeks. And now they say, okay, cryptocurrencies are interesting, but we want to have our own cryptocurrency. We don't want a private cryptocurrency. In my opinion, it's quite a dangerous process because they say that they want to make their processes more modern, more efficient, using this very sexy technology. But the reality is that central banks are going to improve their control thanks to this technology on two aspects, on privacy and on the economy. On privacy, because once they will create some CDBC, probably they will erase cash money. They will make it, there will be no cash. So all the transactions, all the private transactions will be traceable by the central bank, which is really a major philosophical issue for privacy. And they're going to increase the control on the economy because once cash doesn't exist anymore, there will be no limit to Keynesian monetary policies and to negative interest rates. If you think that it's a good thing, okay. But if you think that it's dangerous for the economy and for the civilization, then a CBDC is a major threat. So everyone can have his own opinion on that, but it's very important to interpret what the central bank is saying now on this subject. And of course, they say that they want to improve the environment and many very nice issues like that, but the reality may be a bit different. So maybe a word about why monetary and non-monetary aspects of blockchain are linked. The tendency, the trend in the media is to say that blockchain technology is nice and cryptocurrency is not so exciting. But the real interesting blockchain is an open public blockchain. It means that it's a kind of blockchain where everybody can participate in validating the system or using the system in a free way without authorization. This is an open blockchain. On the contrary, you can design and build closed blockchain, not public or open blockchain, but private and closed blockchain, where you need some authorization to participate in validating the system or using the tokens. It's the same kind of difference between internet and intranet. And so the most interesting issue is the internet, of course. So it's the open blockchain. And an open blockchain, to be secured, it needs an incentive for the people who contribute securing the blockchain. What is this incentive? It's not dollars or euros that are sent to those people. The incentive, it comes from the system itself. It's the token that is issued automatically based on the protocol. In the Bitcoin system, the token is called Bitcoin. But in the Ethereum blockchain, the token is called Ether. And this Ether or this token, whatever it is, people are going to try to earn it only if they think that the value of this token is going to increase. They're going to contribute to the system by their energy, their work, their computation, only if they think that they're going to earn some token that will gain in value. And this token is homogeneous, divisible, easy to send, costly to produce. It means that it has all the characteristics to be used as a kind of money. So a token used to secure a blockchain can be used as a money, even if it's created for other purpose than money. So in my opinion, the expression digital or crypto asset is vague, because it tries to insist on the fact that a token from a blockchain can be something else than money. But it's not absolutely exact, in my opinion. In my opinion, all the tokens of all blockchains are competing to become some money, to be used as some kind of money. And that's why there are many monies, crypto monies everywhere. And it's difficult to imagine a world where we will have thousands of cryptocurrencies. Probably there will be some shilling points, some convergence towards some kind of main cryptocurrency, and why not a new kind of standard, as there was a gold standard for centuries. Maybe we will see a Bitcoin standard or something like that. So maybe we should have some Q&A. What do you think? We can't hear you, Jean.
Yes, indeed. Yes, we have already a lot of questions, so indeed it would be perfect to start the questions right now.
Okay.
So let's start with, so there's two questions from Jan Stolman, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so despite you just saying, I think it was very enlightening, that you don't like the word crypto assets, I'd be interested what your opinion as a senior French civil servant is on French politicians' views on crypto assets and cryptocurrencies. And then on the other hand, because I think that's probably somehow related, what you say about the common criticism that cryptocurrencies are often used to finance or terrorism or criminal transactions. So I'd be interested in that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I understood the second part, but not the first part of your question.
So the first part would essentially be what your view as someone in the government is on what politicians think of the crypto revolution, kind of.
Okay.
So
yeah.
how politicians treat it as opposed to how you see it, right?
Okay, thank you. On the first point, so I'm very interested in this subject, but as a private way, not as an official. And so in my view, politicians, they start to understand that cryptocurrencies are a major subject, major issue. And they would prefer to stop the cryptocurrencies, because cryptocurrencies are competitors for official monies. And that's a key aspect, because the financing of welfare states now is based on debt. And the debt is not costly because there is a monopoly on money. And then central banks can issue money for free and have a very low interest rate for the welfare states. If cryptocurrencies are growing and inspire more trust than national official monies, that becomes a major historical issue. So probably they would prefer to stop cryptocurrencies, but they're starting to realize that it's too late. They probably can stop a lot of cryptocurrencies that are more centralized or weaker technologically than Bitcoin, but it's more and more likely that they cannot stop Bitcoin. So we reach a kind of paradox. Probably, personally, I don't see how the states can tolerate Bitcoin. And at the same time, I don't see how the states can stop Bitcoin. Technically, the amount of energy and the level of distribution and decentralization of the network is so high that it's becoming impossible for the state to stop Bitcoin. So it's going to be a very interesting show in the next years. On the second aspect, the money laundering, yeah. So 99% of the money laundering now is done with fiat money, with traditional bank systems, and there are a lot of prosecutions and trials and condemnations of banks on that, and they usually pay billions of dollars of fines. On a blockchain like a Bitcoin, all the transactions are traceable with important police services. So it's not a good idea to finance terrorism and to do a lot of money laundering on blockchain. It's not very clever. So we will see if it grows, but for now it's microscopic. Yeah.
Suru, seemingly you had a question too, please.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Yorick, for an excellent presentation. I've always been concerned about the energy consumption of cryptocurrency mining and the entire concept of distributed ledger, where everyone has to approve something. By definition, you end up having more energy than having a trusted third party. Do you foresee a future where we can bring that consumption down, at least the level of what a normal currency valuation looks like a fiat currency consumption looks like?
Okay, thank you. So there are many things to say on this issue. It's a very interesting and complex issue. First, there are many cryptocurrencies who are based on some other method of securing the network and who are less energy consuming. So we will see if they grow, those cryptocurrencies. Maybe they will grow and become more important than Bitcoin, but it's not the case for now. Why? Because the level of energy helps inspire confidence in the system. The important energy consumption is necessary to secure Bitcoin, and it explains why Bitcoin is the most secure. So I think there will always be a lot of energy consumption on Bitcoin, and according to me, it's not bad, because energy consumption is not necessarily pollution, it's not necessarily detrimental for environment. A lot of mining activity for Bitcoin is based on renewable energy, because it makes very often renewable energy is less expensive to acquire for miners, because they can relocate very easily near the production centers where there is little demand for renewable energy. We can see that in China, in Canada, etc. And there are other responses to your question. First, the scalability of Bitcoin is going to be done with new protocols like the Lightning Network. And this is not adding energy consumption. So it means that more and more Bitcoin transactions will be possible for micropayments on milliseconds with no addition of energy consumption. So that's important. And there's another response is, okay, let's imagine that Bitcoin energy consumption reaches the European energy consumption. So what? What can we do? What can we do for that? And the answer is that nobody can nothing on that. Nobody can change it. And that's the key point. Even if we all think that is very bad, nobody can modify that because the mining industry is very decentralized, very moving. It can adapt, relocate very easily. And so the only way to stop that will be a coalition of 100% of the states, which has never been possible on any subject, even much more important than Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So I think that's the most important aspect.
Thank you.
Thank you. So there's a question for Sandy, right?
Yeah, thank you. Yorick, thank you for your presentation. Don't drive out your accents. The French are tolerated here, you know.
Good.
Just about. So I have 3 questions for you. Shall I put them all 3 out, or should I just scale them on you answer one after the other?
How many?
3.
Okay, let's go for 3 at the same time.
All right. Okay, the first one you have just partially answered with Subu's question is about the energy consumption which is needed for cryptocurrencies. What I'm wondering also is how much data storage. Data storage at the moment is something which we have a lack of worldwide. How much of data storage would cryptocurrency take? Do we have enough data storage capacity taking aside the consumption just to deal with it? That's question 1. Question 2 is, what are the differentiation factors between different cryptocurrencies? Because we understand Bitcoin is far ahead of the others, but why would someone pick one while the other one? So what's the differentiation factor, the unique selling point of each of them? The last question is, how do we prevent a rise of cyber terrorism, which is facilitated by cryptocurrencies, as you have well explained?
All right, okay. So the first one is the storage, huh? That's it?
Yeah, data storage and consumption, yeah. Energy consumption.
Yeah, the energy consumption, I already answered.
Yeah.
The data storage, okay, so it's interesting. I think you mentioned the storage of the database that we call the blockchain.
Yeah.
Because it's the only thing that is stored, is the database. And the interesting point is that the data, the storage, the necessary storage capacity is very low. It's quite low. The database of Bitcoin on one node, one computer, is around 200 gigabytes, which is quite low, actually. So it's distributed on thousands of computers in the world, but it's quite low. And what I find interesting is that it's much higher, much more heavy for Ethereum. There are very few full nodes of Ethereum because the storage capacity, necessary storage capacity is much higher. So the main issue is more energy consumption than storage capacity.
Okay.
I think. Yeah. The second one was the cyber criminal. The second
was how do one
it's interesting how to differentiate cryptocurrency
between them.
That's very interesting because there are many parameters that can make them different. Yeah, what's the method of securing the system and validating the transactions? The same. What's the method? Is it mining with proof of work or proof of stake, or so that's the first parameter. Second parameter is what's the monetary emission regime? Is there a cap, a limitation of 21 million for Bitcoin, or no? What's the inflation rhythm? What's the speed of emission over the time for Bitcoin? this rhythm of emission is divided by 2 every 4 years. At first, there were 50 Bitcoins issued every 10 minutes, and it was divided by 2 every 4 years, and now it's 6.25 Bitcoins issued every 10 minutes. So it's a disinflationary regime. It's an inflation that is decreasing. But the other cryptocurrencies, they have other rhythms of emissions, and they have other caps or no caps. On Ethereum, there is no cap, for example. So it's a key monetary aspect. And there are other aspects. For example, are the transactions programmable or not? And is it easy to program the transactions or not? For example, on Ethereum, it's much more easy to program the transaction than on Bitcoin, because Ethereum is using what is called a Turing complete language, computer language. So it makes it much more easy to build, to design sophisticated smart contracts. That's why most of the experiments in the financial systems and in the industry are based on Ethereum now. It's because of that. But the problem is that it creates more risks of bugs, of technical bugs. So there are trade-offs. Bitcoin is focusing on security. Ethereum is focusing on programmability. So it's a key parameter if you want to compare the cryptocurrencies. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, the last question was about cybersecurity. How can we prevent terrorism?
Yeah. So what example do you imagine?
I mean, if I'm a cyber terrorist, I mean, the easiest way to ask a ransom would be to ask people to pay me in cryptocurrencies, because I could not be tracked.
Well, you can be tracked because a transaction is traceable on the blockchain. So if you do that, you need to be very confident, because when you want to use your Bitcoin that you received, everybody is going to see your Bitcoin moving on the network. Everybody, the whole world.
Right.
So of course they won't see your name, but if you go to the hotel and you register with your passport and you pay with your Bitcoin, immediately all the world knows that you are spending the night in this hotel.
Yeah. Okay.
So there are new tools like mixing systems where you can mix a lot of Bitcoins together to make it less traceable. But it's very new. And even with that, it seems that police can trace you. So you can do cyber terrorism, but you need to be very, very careful. We will invent new tools to prevent from prevent that, and the criminals, they will invent new tools to overcome. So this is a traditional cumulative evolution for any innovation.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. So Akim Clubber, please.
Yes, thanks. Great talk, Yorick. Many thanks for your insights. Much appreciated. Not sure whether this is indeed correct, but I understand that in the past, Bitcoins were stolen or got lost. Is this correct? Is this true? If so, how did this happen? And then perhaps as a second complex of questions, I understand that many miners are sitting in China, something up to 50%, but again, not 100% sure. If that is the case, what's the danger that the central government of the People's Republic of China in one form or another gets involved in this and forbids the miners to mine? Thank you.
Thank you very much. So on the first point, indeed, a lot of people have lost their Bitcoins, especially at the beginning when the Bitcoin price was very low. A lot of people played with thousands of Bitcoins, and then they lost their password. And so once you lose your private key, that's the technical term, then you cannot recover your Bitcoin. It's impossible, and nobody can use your Bitcoin anymore. So it's lost. And there's an estimation that there are between 3 and 4 million Bitcoins that have been lost. And around 18 million Bitcoins have been issued. And among these 80 millions, it's very likely that 3 or 4 millions will never be recovered ever. Second, you can be stolen your Bitcoins. Your Bitcoins can be stolen if you don't protect your private key in an effective way. What is a private key? It's a very long chain of characters, and there are apps that we call wallets that manage your private keys. And you need passwords to use these apps, and these apps, they manage your private keys. So if you are not cautious enough, if your password to the app is stolen, or if you leave it on your computer and then some hacker comes in your computers and steal your password, then they can have access to your wallet and use your Bitcoin. So there are many methods to organize your protection, and there are hardware wallets, physical devices that may keep your private keys so that nobody can steal them. There are many ways of protecting that. And so about China, so indeed it's a challenge. A lot of miners are in China, but they are very decentralized in many regions of China. They operate on a local level, usually near renewable energy production, hydraulic production, and most of them are friends with the local authorities. And the central states have very limited power on this system. And even if the central state manages to increase its power on this, progressively it will be known and miners will relocate. The proportion of mining that is done in China tends to decrease in time. More and more miners go to Iceland or Canada or even Texas. So I think it's not a too dangerous issue.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Very good.
Thank you. So Sina, please, you can open your mic if you feel like.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Lovely. Firstly, I'd like to thank the National Liberal Club for hosting the event, and thank you, Yorick, for your time. So miners are already seeing a decrease in efficiency and further incentive with the difficulty of the hash rate rising and with the value of the coin. My question is, my first question is, once we mine all 21 million Bitcoins, bear in mind that we're already at 18, will mining be obsolete? And if so, what infrastructure will there be left to support the verification of transactions and the general security of the currency? And what will happen to the inflationary regime you previously mentioned when answering Sandy's question? My second question, if I may, is with the introduction of quantum processors, computers will be able to hack binary hashes, such as the ones used in cryptocurrencies, although they'll probably, well, there will most definitely be developments in quantum key distribution and encryption and adaptations in the market. Is this an area of focus that any fintech or specialists are taking a look at, or is it somewhere that's quite undiscovered? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Two very interesting questions. So what will happen in 2140? In 2040. 2040 is the date when no more Bitcoin will be issued. And the cap of 21 million will never be reached. There will never be 21 million Bitcoins. There will be just less than that. There will be, what will happen at that time? The mining process will still be working. It will still be necessary to validate and secure the transactions, but the financial incentive for the miners will not be new issued Bitcoins anymore. It will be transaction fees that are paid by the people who send transactions. And those transaction fees, they are already paid now, today, on every Bitcoin transactions. They are very small, even if they may increase when the market is totally saturated. So the challenge is what level will these transaction fees reach? Will it be enough to make a strong incentive for the miners to keep working and to keep computing. And so we will see if we are still alive at that time. But what the experts say is that if Bitcoin still exists at that time, its value will be very, very high. And it means that the transaction fees that are paid in Bitcoins, they will represent huge amounts that will be enough to make a good incentive for the miners. So that was the first aspect. Second, quantum computing, it's a very important subject, and all the best computers and cryptographers in the mining, in the Bitcoin ecosystem and the cryptocurrency ecosystem, they work on that. They are perfectly aware of that. And what they say is that there will be things to update in the protocol, and there will be aspects that will not need to be updated. And they say that we have time. It's a gradual process, and some of the best computers and cryptographers of the world work in the cryptography, the cryptocurrency area. So there is not much difficulty on that at that time. Yeah.
Thank you. So we also have a last question from Jan Stormen, and then we are done. Jan, you can proceed.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It was very interesting. I was having one last question about what you said about the state-produced or central bank-produced or issued cryptocurrencies, because you kind of brought that up, and I wanted to know what you think where that will lead. What will be the future of those, especially because the main attraction for you maybe, and I think for just about everyone about cryptocurrencies, is that they are not as centralized, right?
Yeah, exactly. You're right. Those tools will be centralized, and they will improve the central power of the central banks and the states. Because even if the central banks are independent, officially, they are tools of the state. So I think that if what we call CBDCs are created and are developed, it will make very good it will increase incentives to use Bitcoin, because Bitcoin will be a tool to protect yourself against the influence of CBDC on your privacy and on your wealth, because your wealth will be decreased by negative interest rates imposed by the central banks on you, thanks to their virtual currency.
Okay, thank you very much. I think this is the last question, so we will have final words and this very interesting viewpoints and this great analysis.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Yorick, for such an insightful presentation on cryptocurrencies and blockchain and the underlying economics and philosophy. It's very interesting to hear about the new technology and the timestamping and the programming, making them virtually impossible to hack, and also about the philosophical idealism underpinning this. The secure method of storing and mining cryptocurrencies and the open blockchain tokens as store of value have provided all of us a lot of food for thought. Thank you. I would like to thank Dr. Jean Langlois for being a great moderator, Benedict Barthelmess for a great welcome, Alderman Tim McNally for graciously providing his technical expertise, Trevor Peel, as always, for organizing such an excellent event, and the NLC for hosting the event. We would also like to invite everyone to our next NLC European Forum event next Thursday, 28th Jan at 6 p.m. on Brexit. It's an opportunity to hear Christine Jordan, Lib Dem MP, and Professor Chris Gray on how the UK is coping after the departure from the EU. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.